Hello, sir.
Hello.
Sir, ଆମେ ମାନେ ଗୋଟେ ଗ୍ରୁପ WhatsApp ଗ୍ରୁପ ଗୋଟେ ସାର୍ କ୍ରିଏଟ୍ କଲୁ। ତ
Hmm.
ସେଥିରେ ସାର୍ ଆମେ କାଇଣ୍ଡଲି ଆପଣଙ୍କୁ ଆଉ ଅଲଗା ଆମର ଫ୍ୟାକଲ୍ଟି ଯିଏ ଆମକୁ ଏବେ ଗାଇଡ୍ କରୁଛନ୍ତି ଟିକେ ଆଡ୍ କରିପାରିବେ।
ठीक है सर। ମୋ ନମ୍ବର ଦେଖିଥାନ୍ତ ନା କଣ?
ହଁ ସାର୍।
ଘର କାହିଁକି ଏଠି?
ହଉ
ଲିଙ୍କ ଟା କିଏ ଜଣେ ଦେଇଦିଅ ନହେଲେ ଏଠି ଲିଙ୍କ ଦେଇଦିଅ ସାର୍ ଆଡ୍ କରିଦେଉଛନ୍ତି।
ଏଇଟା ମୋ ନମ୍ବର ଦେଇଦେଲି ହେଲା।
ଆଜ୍ଞା ସାର୍
ସାର୍ ଏ
ଆଡ୍
ଲିଙ୍କଟାରେ
କରିଦେବି।
ବି କ୍ଲିକ୍
9438
କଲେ ଜଏନ୍ ହେଇଯିବେ।
9438 ହେଲା ଏଇ ନମ୍ବରଟା ତାର
ଲିଙ୍କ
ରହୁଛି।
ହଁ ସାର୍ ମୁଁ ଆଡ୍
ଓକେ ଓକେ।
Okay, so shall we start, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now you have BGC 107. So I think last time we were talking about the dramas of 17th century of 18th century, right? And we were talking about Duchess of Malfi. So, what else do you have other than Duchess of Malfi? I guess you have Macfleckno by John Dryden. And what else do you have?
The Rape of the Lock by
Yes,
Alexander
yes,
and poem of Lycidas, sonnet 19.
yes. Lycidas, you have um, La Allegro, Il Penseroso, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Just a second, just a second. All right. So, for your, let's just get a little idea about what kind of literature was being written during those days. If we talk about if we talk about 17th century, and then if we talk about 18th century, uh, in 17th century, the people they were very religious. Okay, the people were very religious. The Puritans, they were ruling. And if you read history of England, okay, if you read history of England, you will know that the history is full of religious conflicts. Did I mention about religious conflicts in the previous class?
No, ma'am.
Yes. So okay, so when you read, right from the age of Renaissance, or even before that, right from 15th century, 16th century, you will find that the church and the people they were divided into two religious parties. Christianity, it got divided into Protestants and Catholics. Have you heard of these two religious backgrounds, Protestant and Catholics?
Yes, ma'am. Protestants,
So
Catholics are the usual traditional Christianity followers,
yes, very good. Uh,
and
the
Protestants are the newly formed.
Yes. So what used to happen during, the Catholics, the Christianity, it came from the Rome, okay? It came from the Roman Church, okay? The Christianity, the people of Rome, the Latin people, they went all around the Europe and everywhere to spread Christianity. So by that time, during that time, in England, everyone was bound to follow the Christianity or the Christian rules set by the Church of Rome. Okay, the Church of Rome. Okay, and there is always a Pope. Okay, there is always a Pope. No one can go against the Pope. No one can go against the papal system. Papal system, it comes from Pope. Okay, so you know the rules were very rigid. The rules were very strict. Okay, and there was no provision of getting divorced. There was no provision of you know other things. So what used to happen that the people there were some people who revolted against Catholicism. Okay, they revolted against Catholicism and they said that we don't really trust these people, the priests, especially what they are teaching, because there were some religious people, they were gradually getting corrupted in the church. Okay, and there are some other people who realized that these priests, they are corrupt. And since the people, they were illiterate, they were not able to read the Bible, or they were not able to read the religious scriptures. Okay, so they used to depend on the priest or the father or the bishop entirely. Okay, so they were taking advantages of these people and the innocence of these people. So what happened? There were set of people, there are some different set of men who came out in revolt against Catholicism or against the Roman Church. And one of those protesters, one of those rebels was the King of England. Okay, the King of England, King Henry the Eighth. Okay, so King Henry the Eighth, he wanted to get a divorce from his first wife and he wanted to marry someone else. And the Church of Rome, the Church of Rome was not giving the permission to the king to do all these things. So he said that, we will just separate ourselves from the Catholic Church, from the Church of Rome. We will have our own Church of England. Okay? We will follow the Church of England, where, in Church of Rome, the supreme head is the Pope. And in Church of England, the supreme head will be the King himself. Okay? And you know, and that separate party was called Protestants. And entire in all those in the entire England history or the history of England, you will see that the Catholics and the Protestants, they're just killing each other. They are shedding bloods of each other. Okay, and they were absolutely apprehensive about about the ruler who is going to come and sit on the throne, whether the ruler is going to support the Catholics, whether the ruler is going to support the Protestants. Okay, so if a particular ruler is supporting the Catholics, then the Protestants are in danger. If a ruler is supporting Protestants, then the Catholics are in danger. Okay, so they are, they are always in that threat of, what is going to happen to them in that religious setup. Okay, and this religious conflict is actually, it even decides the fate of a king or a queen. It also decides the fate of a particular ruler. Okay, like let's say for example, there is a Protestant ruler. Then the Catholics will get angry of the ruler, that why that ruler is supporting the Protestants. So they will start plotting and planning against him, and vice versa. Okay, so in during those times, many kings, they were killed, or they were being driven out of the country, or you know people were getting against the um, there were some people who were supporting the royal family, then there were some people who were against the royal family, and gradually that strong difference, the strong, that huge gap between the Protestants and the Catholics, it grew so much that the political parties, they came up. There were political parties who supported, one party will support the royal family, and then the other party will support the common man. Okay, I hope you're getting my point.
Yes, ma'am.
See, this is, the history is huge, the history of England. It is really huge. And it is really important for you guys to go through the history very thoroughly. Right from Anglo Saxon till the postmodern age, till the present time. Okay? When you come across, entrance exams and many other things, the first thing that they will test you on is history of English literature, history of Britain, the social history, the political history, the economic history, the religious history. Okay, I mean, I cannot, I cannot emphasize enough how history is important for you guys in order to learn literature, in order to understand the literature of that particular time. Because you must have heard it many times that literature or art, it often mirrors the society. It is a mirror of society. Okay, similarly, in this paper, in this paper, you have you have John Webster's Duchess of Malfi. We have already talked about it. Then you have John Milton. Okay, you have John Milton's Felicitas, um, uh, El Allegro, and Il Penseroso. Okay, then you have John Dryden's Mac Flecknoe, and then you have Alexander Pope's Rape of the Lock. All of these works, they talk about something that is going on the society, that is going in the society at that particular time, at the time in which they were writing. You will gradually come to know about it, when you read it thoroughly. So, don't just read it like, okay, it's there in the syllabus and we need to get it done. Okay, we will just read the chapter, we will just read the summary, and that is all. It's not, it's not everything. Reading summary won't help you. It won't help you in the long run, at least. So, if you want to get a better understanding of what is happening in that particular work or why is it happening, the connection is with the history of England. Okay, and the time in which those writers were writing. What was the mood of the people? How the attitude of the people were changing. You know the the people, the taste of the people, they change with the different circumstances. They change according to different circumstances. For example, one ruler will come and will try to run the country in his manner, the way he likes. So he will force his people to follow the same taste. Then another ruler will come, he will do the same. Then another ruler, and then another ruler. Right? So, it's not just the ruler, but it is also about the revolutions or the changes that were coming in against the rulers. Okay, you will find some people, they are supporting the rulers, they were supporting the royal parties, and there are some people you will see who were against the royal parties. They have their own tastes, they have their own moods. Okay, in fact, the public, they will want to read a certain kind of literature. They will want to read a certain uh, tone. They would like to have a certain tone in that particular work. All right. I hope you're able to understand whatever I'm saying, whatever I'm trying to explain. So my point is, go read history thoroughly. Okay, go read history thoroughly. Buy a history book. I think I just gave you a list of names in the last class. Okay, you can start read. Uh, you can read multiple history books, but for the beginners, I will say stick with one book, finish a book, and then switch to another book. All right. Now, I'm not sure. Like, you don't have in your syllabus. You are directly jumping into the works. So you're not, in syllabus, you're not talking about the history. But in order to understand the literature, in order to understand those prescribed works for your semester, you really need to read the history. And you need to connect all the dots. You need to join all the lines. Okay? Okay, so, okay. So, let's talk about, um, I think we did John Webster. Then you have 17th century. 17th century, an introduction. You have John Milton. Okay, John Milton, his life and his works. Then you have his other some of the poetry. Now, John Milton, he is a 17th century poet. Okay, John Milton, he is a 17th century poet. Now, John Milton, he has his own style. I think I have I think I have mentioned that during 17th century the people were very much religious. Okay, people were religious, especially the Puritans. They were called the Puritans. And John Milton, he is famously known for his work Paradise Lost. It is not something that you have in your semester. This is not something that you have in your syllabus. But he is famously known for his Paradise Lost. Okay, now what is happening in that book? He is basically talking about Bible. He is talking about Adam and Eve. Okay, he's talking about Adam and Eve and how you know he also talks about the Satan. Have you heard of Lucifer? The Satan Lucifer. Have you heard of him?
Yes, ma'am. I heard about.
Yes.
Uh,
Okay.
yes, I
All
heard.
right. Okay. Okay. All right. So then he talks about Lucifer. Lucifer, he was an angel. At first, he was an angel. Okay, but then he revolted against the God. So the God punished him and he sent him to hell. Okay,
Yes,
so out of revenge, he decided to corrupt. He decided to corrupt Adam and Eve. Who? Lucifer. Lucifer decided to corrupt Adam and Eve and to corrupt the mankind that the God was planning to create. So then what he does, he just, he tries to sneak into the paradise. Okay, he tries to sneak into the paradise where the gods and the angels and Adam and Eve, they're living. And he tempts and he, provokes Eve that, there is this forbidden tree and this forbidden tree has a forbidden apple and you need to eat that apple because you know the god has denied you, the god has forbidden you from eating that apple because the god knows that if you eat that apple then you will be as wise as the god and as powerful as the god, and that, yeah, the god doesn't want you to have that wisdom. Okay, so he just the Lucifer, the Satan, Lucifer, he tries to provoke Eve, and then Eve goes to Adam, and Eve says, Eve then says to Adam to bring the apple, to pluck the apple, and then they take a bite, and you know the god comes to know about what has happened, and the god, he just kicks the um, he kicks Adam and Eve out of the paradise. Okay, and then he says that since you have done this major mistake, you will be the one, you are going to be the reasons behind all the suffering that the mankind will go through. Okay, according to the Christianity, you know Adam and Eve, they are the reason why mankind is suffering. Because why? Because they ate the forbidden fruit. All right. So the god, he gets angry, and he just kicks them out from the paradise, and then he sends them to earth, and then he punishes that. He says that the man will always be working hard day and night in order to feed his family, in order to bring food to his family. And since the woman and the Eve, okay, since the Eve was also at fault, it was because of the Eve that such a chaos happened. The Eve, the woman, will also go through a lots and lots of pain. Okay, she will bear the child. She will take all the painful activities, and the man will always dominate the woman. Okay, all those things. So Milton, he writes about these biblical things in Paradise Lost. Okay, he writes about these biblical things in Paradise Lost. That is like his, one of the most famous writings. Okay, and what he is doing, there are some techniques that he is using. Now, before writing, when he starts to write his poetry, you will see Milton, he is invoking muses. Okay, he is praising a god or a goddess. Basically, a goddess. Okay, he's always praising a goddess, so that the goddess will give him the strength and give him that patience to write, to finish the work that he has started. Okay, you must have seen that how in our culture also, before doing some major work, okay, before starting some major work, we take the name of the god, right? We take the name of the god, we do a little worshipping thing, we pray, and we ask for his blessings and all. Okay, so this is a peculiar character of John Milton that he uses. This is a peculiar feature that John Milton uses in his poetry. Okay, so he invokes, different goddesses. That the goddesses, they will give him the strength and give him the wisdom and the patience and all those artistic feature, so that he will be able to justify his work. He will be able to complete his work successfully. Okay, do you guys understand?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I hope you're not getting bored. I mean, this is the third class in a row. Can you give me 2 seconds, please? Just give me 2 seconds. Okay, so then you have these two poems, El Allegro and Penseroso. Okay, now these two poetry by Milton, they are always considered as twins. These two poetries are considered as twins. Okay, so El Allegro and Il Penseroso, this has been written. These two poetry have been written um, by John Milton, and in these two poetry, John Milton gives some really contradicting ideas towards the life. Okay, in El Allegro, John Milton is really happy. He is joyful. Okay, he is invoking a muse. All right, he is invoking a goddess. All right, what is a muse? Can anyone tell me what a muse means? Can anyone tell me what is a muse? Yes. Now, muse is someone. Okay, muse is someone that will give some creative, some give some inspiration to the artist. Okay, now the artists or the poets, they used to invoke the muses, means they used to praise the muse or worship the muse, so that I told you, they will, they draw the inspiration, that muse becomes the inspiration, and that will give them power and strength and the artistic beauty to write their poetry, or to write, or to complete their masterpiece. Okay, similarly, just like in Paradise Lost, uh, John Milton, he invokes muse and El Allegro and Il Penseroso. And he, in El Allegro, he is talking about the beauty of the life, how life is beautiful, and you know, life is such joyful, and we should live every movement. And he imagines going to a parade where people are laughing and talking and enjoying on streets and everything. Okay, so he has a joyful tone in this poetry, in this poem. Just pay attention to the kind of tone and the kind of mood that um, John Milton creates in these two poetry. Okay, and the contrast, the difference. Okay, so he has a really joyful mood, and he's very happy with whatever is happening, the way he's leading his life, and he sees beauty everywhere. Right. So now, in the poetry, Il Penseroso, he is doing just the opposite. Okay, he is doing just the opposite. He is, he's all dark. He has a dark mood, he has a gloomy mood, he is melancholic, he is sad. Okay, in El Allegro he was all happy, he was all joyful, and in El Allegro he was all joyful, and Il Penseroso, he is all sad, he is mourning, he is melancholic, as if there is no flavor to life. Life is not fair to everyone. God is not fair to everyone. Nothing good is happening in life. Okay, so these two poems are always considered as twin. Okay, these poems are always considered as twin poems. Right. Now, I cannot go through all the poems right now. It's on you to read the poem, to analyze the poem. Make sure when you're reading a poem, since you are doing your graduation, when you're reading a poem, make sure you notice the kind of figurative language she is using. What is the rhyming scheme? What is the metrical composition? Okay, what other techniques he is using, what are the literary figures he is using. Okay, what is the tone, what is the mood of the poet, what is the tone of the poet, in what tone is he addressing to the readers. Okay, is he addressing to the readers, or he's addressing to the god, or he's addressing to any other character. Okay, so you make sure you just note down all these points. All right, when a question comes that if a question comes that analyze the poem El Allegro or Il Penseroso or Lycidas or any sonnet, don't just write the summary. Okay, this happened, that happened, the poet says this, the poet says that. That is not enough. That is a part of your answer, but that is not your entire answer. You really have to see what kind of language Milton is using. He's invoking a muse. Why is he invoking a muse? Okay, why he is incorporating so many literary devices. All right, so these are some of the things that you really need to keep in mind. Summarizing, understanding the lines and summarizing it and just assembling everything, all your understanding into a paragraph or two is not going to help you. Okay, you have to analyze, you know, even the language, the vocabulary, the words. All right, the literary devices. Fine. Am I making myself clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, then you have Lycidas. Okay, you have Lycidas. Lycidas, it is an elegy. What is an elegy? Elegy is a kind of poetry. Elegy is a kind of lyrical poetry where someone is mourning a death of someone who is dear. Okay, like someone has died, someone has, just passed away, and a poet is writing a poem or anything to give a tribute to that dying person or to that person who is dead. The poet is mourning. Okay, the poet is sad, and he is giving a tribute. That is an elegy. Okay, so Lycidas is a pastoral elegy. Now, what is a pastoral elegy? You understand what an elegy is. Now, what is pastoral? Pastoral means, something, pastoral is something that has to do with the shepherds or with the fields, with the farmers, with the cattles. Okay, pastoral elegy means that, he is characterizes himself as a shepherd. Okay, he characterizes himself as a shepherd, and he is mourning over the death of his friend. He had a friend named Edward King, and he just died. He had an untimely death. Okay, he died really early. Okay, and um, John Milton, he is mourning over his death. All right. So these are some of the poetry, and then of course you have sonnet number 19. If you read a sonnet, you will find, while reading a sonnet, you have to pay attention to the lines, to the number of lines, and what is the rhyme scheme. Apart from summarizing the uh, poetry or understanding the poetry or the tone of the poet and everything, you really need to see how many lines is he completing the poetry in, and how many lines he is writing that poetry, and what are the rhyming scheme, what is the metrical composition. Okay, so these are the things that you need to keep in your mind while reading this poetry, while writing your assignments, while writing your answers in semester exams. So if possible, from now on you start making notes, because see, literature is really huge. Literature is huge. You know, you just cannot uh, You cannot give a concrete boundary to literature. It's really huge. And then you have so many chapters for your semester exams, right? You have so many chapters for your semester's exams. Don't keep it till the last minute. Don't keep it till the last moment. Start writing, start making notes from now on. If you're not able to make notes, I know not everyone can make notes. Okay, if you're not able to make notes, then the least thing that you can do is just jot down the important points. Jot down those important points. Read those important points every day. Revise those points. Then you can, what can you do? You can explain those points in your language later on. Okay? You have so many chapters. You know, let's say, for example, you have a novel. There are so many characters in that novel. There are so many themes in that novel. There are so many important events in that novel, and there are so many situations in that novel. There are so many important lines. So you won't be able to do everything in the last minute. So start working on everything from from today only. All right. Do you guys
Yes, ma'am.
understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what else do you have? You have Rape of the Lock. Okay, so before that you have Mac Flecknoe by John Dryden. Now, John Dryden and Alexander Pope, they are the ones who are considered as the satirist of the Augustan age. Okay, great satirist of Augustan age. They used to write satires. Can anyone tell me what is the meaning of a satire? Can anyone tell me what is the meaning of a
No,
satire?
ma'am.
See, satire, it is a kind of a tone. Okay, satire is a kind of a tone where a poet or where a writer or where a speaker, let's say for example, there is a speaker. He need not to be a writer. He doesn't need to be a writer. He is just a speaker and he is satirizing someone. That means that person, that speaker, is ridiculing someone else, is making fun of someone else, is using humor and exaggeration to ridicule that person, to ridicule the flaw of that person. Okay, that is a satire. Now, as I told you, you know, in the history of England, the mood of the people, it was changing every century. Okay, and in this particular century, in 18th century, okay, in 17th, 18th century, many political parties were coming up, and there were these two parties. One is Whig, and another is Tory. Okay, Whig and Tory. Okay, so Whig was supporting Whig, the party Whig. It was against the royal family. It was against the royal blood, and Tory, it was in support of the royal blood. Right. So what is happening now? John Dryden, he is a supporter of the royalist. He is himself a royalist because he supports the royal family. Now, in this poem, Max Flecknoe, John Dryden, he is satirizing. He is satirizing another political figure. He is satirizing another man. Okay, he was also a writer, and his name is Thomas Shadwell. Okay, his name is Thomas Shadwell. He is another writer. Okay, and he is a supporter. He is against the royal family. He is a big supporter. All right. So during this time, during 18th century, Okay, during 17th century, 18th century, there were some writers who were picking up on others. They were at loggerheads. They didn't have, if say for example that there are these two writers and they don't share a good relationship, so they will start writing against each other. Okay, they will start writing against each other. So in this poetry, John Dryden, he is ridiculing, he is satirizing Thomas Shadwell. Okay, and Mac no, he gives this name to Thomas Shadwell himself. He gives this name to Thomas Shadwell. And in the poetry, he writes that there is a king named Richard Flecknoe. Okay, this is something that John Dryden is writing in his poetry. Okay, there is Richard Flecknoe. He is the king of dullness. Okay, do you understand dullness? Dull, yes.
Uh, feeling
Wait, I'm
down
just
in those days,
no,
feeling some
I'm
no energy.
yes, yes, yes. I'm just writing it down. Wait a second.
Lack
Okay,
of interest, ma'am.
yes, king of dullness, right? So, someone who is not interested, someone who is very dull, who is easily bored, and who doesn't have any energy or any spirit to do something. Okay, so um, so he says that Richard, there is a man, Richard Flecknoe, there is a king, Richard Flecknoe, and he is the king of dullness. He has this kingdom wherein only stupid people live. Okay, and the people are dull and stupid, right? And then Richard Flecknoe, he is himself stupid. Okay, and he says that I am getting old, I need to retire, and I want to give my throne to my son, who is Mac Flecknoe. And who is Mac Flecknoe? Thomas Shadwell. Okay, and he depicts Thomas Shadwell as a bigger stupid person, as a stupid person at par than his father, John Flecknoe. Okay, so John, George, Richard, sorry, what? Okay, Richard Flecknoe, he gives his throne to Mac Flecknoe, to Thomas Shadwell, and he says that from now on, you just use your stupidity. You don't have to use your brain, you just use your stupidity. Believe in your stupidity. Okay, and then you can be a really great king. Okay, you are stupid enough to rule this kingdom. So use your stupidity and you can be a great king to this kingdom of dullness. So just imagine the way Dryden is ridiculing Thomas Shadwell. Okay, so this is something that is called a satire. Now, what is the purpose of writing a satire? What is the purpose? Yes, they are ridiculing someone. Yes, they are making fun of someone. Yes, they are bringing out the flaw. But these people who write satires, they really want to bring a change in the society. They are looking at, for example, you're looking at a politician who is doing some, not so good stuffs, not so good things, and you want to bring a change. Okay, so what do? You ridicule that politician. So this is a kind of way that Dryden and even Alexander Pope, they both were using. They were ridiculing the time that they were living in. They were ridiculing some other people who were not in support of the royal family. Fine. So he in this poetry, remember, he is ridiculing Thomas Shadwell. Mac Flecknoe is Thomas Shadwell himself. Okay, and he becomes the king of dullness, and he is stupid himself. He is very much stupid, even more stupid than his father. All right, and there are many other things in this poetry that you need to read. Okay, do you understand? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then you have after John Dryden, you have Alexander Pope. Okay, Alexander Pope. In fact, he is also he also writes satires. Okay, Alexander Pope and John Dryden. They both they are always talk together. Okay, they both are satirists. They both ridicule other people. They pick on other people. Um, they in fact write essays. Okay, they are also essayists. John Dryden, Alexander Pope. They write on they write on critiques and many other things. They write on poets. They give some critical review to the poets or the playwrights, to the dramatist. Okay, so now talking of Alexander Pope. Okay, talking of Alexander Pope. Alexander Pope, as I told you, he is also a satirist. He also talks of something that is not right in the society, something that is really rampant, but something again that is degrading the values of the society. Okay, so rape of the lock is also a satire. Okay, a satire. It is a mockery. It is called as mock heroic epic. Okay, it is called as mock heroic epic. Mock means mockery. So Alexander Pope, while writing a heroic epic, he is mocking at the society. He is mocking at the characters. Right. Now, rape of the law. Here, rape doesn't mean the sense that we take it in. Okay, rape is not violating someone sexually. It is not, you know, rape in this poetry, the word rape in this poetry, it is not, it has nothing to do with violating someone sexual. Okay, rape of the law, here rape, the word means snatching something, taking away something, taking away something against someone's desire. Okay, and what is the meaning of the lock? Okay, the lock here, it is actually the lock of the hair. Okay, during that particular century, the females, the women, they were, very much obsessed with themselves. They wanted to look beautiful. They used to put on so much of makeup. You know, they used to wear, extravagant costumes, extravagant outfits. The hairdo was really grand. Okay, heavy makeup. Okay, so they used to, women during those days, I'm not sure if you have seen or not, the women, they will make a bun or a bum or whatever you call it, and then they will have these two locks coming out from their hair. Okay, their hair will be all curly from the down. Okay, there are two locks. Fine, there are two locks coming from that hair to the neck. Okay, and they thought those during those times, those women thought that those are really beautiful thing to do. That will beautify them. That will enhance their beauty. So the main character in this, there are two characters in this poem, Rape of the Lock. One character is Belinda. Okay, one character is Belinda. Then another character is Baron. Okay, one character is Belinda, then another character is Baron. Now, Belinda is, she comes from a really high class family, she comes from a rich family, and she's going to have she has got an invitation to go to a party. Okay, and then there is his guardian spirit. Okay, there is a guardian spirit named Ariel, and that guardian spirit is trying to protect Belinda at any circumstances. Protect Belinda as in protect the beauty of Belinda. Okay, protect the beauty of Belinda. So what is she doing? She knows that the guardian spirit or the guardian angel Ariel. She knows that something really bad is going to happen with Belinda. So let me just protect her. And then she goes to that party. Belinda goes to that party, and she's playing cards with some other guests. And then there is a man named Baron. And Baron, he is a kind of man. He's a mischievous man. He's like a prankster. He's little evil. And he decides to cut the lock. Okay? He decides to cut the lock and take it from the bell. He decides to cut that lock and take it from Belinda. Okay? And then he is successful. He cuts the lock and he takes it away. Belinda, she is shattered. See, lock, it is it is a hair. It is hair. Do you understand the word lot? Lot. Do you understand the hair, meaning of lot? Yes, anyone? Yes. Anyways, so what he does, what Baron he is doing, he is just cutting one of the locks. She has two locks, and he just takes a scissor and he cuts one of the locks, and that is when um, Belinda and Baron, they you know they just start a fight. Okay, Belinda is like, you are ruining my beauty. Just say, give me back my lock. And Baron is like, no, I'm not giving back your lock. This is something that I've achieved. I'm not giving it back. So, what Alexander Pope is doing, he is making fun of the kind of society that we are living in. A society where people, they are not, they are not um, paying attention to what is happening, the major issues or the major complications that is happening in that time. Rather than that, rather than focusing on the important things, they are focusing on the petty things like beauty, makeup, dressing up, parties, playing cards, and all these things. Okay, so Alexander Pope, he is making fun of all such things. He is satirizing it. So therefore, this is a mock heroic epic. Did you understand, everyone? I'm not sure if you are there or not on the other side of the call. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Um,
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Even I'm a little tired. I've been speaking non-stop for 3 hours. Okay. So that is all for today. I'm stopping this session now. Go through the poem. Okay, see what kind of poem it is. If it is an elegy, or if it is a satire, if it is a mock heroic epic, if it is an epic. Okay, or if it is an ode. Just make sure you know what kind of poetry you are writing. So that is something that you are giving in the beginning of your answer. Okay, let's say for example you write that Lycidas, if the question comes on Lycidas, that give a critical analysis on the poem Lycidas. So first thing that you will write that Lycidas is an elegy written by John Milton. Written by John Milton. Okay, as I told you, give your focus to, obviously you're going to focus on each and every thing, but give your special attention to your introduction and to the conclusion. Okay. Okay, so Aarti Patnaik, hello ma'am, can we add you in our WhatsApp group for some help? Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. If you have any doubt, then you can ask me. All right. So that's all for today. Okay, my number. I'm just writing down my number here. All right. So that is all for now. I'm stopping the session here. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank
ma'am.
you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.